Hello, fellow Mythrunians. It is another weekly live stream. Thanks for joining me tonight as we sort of work down the master to-do list. I'm just trying to grab some low-hanging fruit or some things that I think I need to work on. I'm actually in the middle of hunting a bug at the moment. And so we'll do that. We'll maybe have some conversations about what's next if enough people join. And hey, Oak, how's it going? So once again, down in the lower center of the screen, you can see the link to download the release. The latest release is from Tuesday, so July 2nd. If you want to grab that one and go exploring a little bit, you'll dogs and butterflies and things like that in there. So and choppable objects. It's kind of fun. So hopefully you get a chance to check it out. We'll go say hello to the patrons. Thank you so much for all that you do. Thanks for keeping the servers running and so on. And so let me sort of go into, hey, there's me up in the corner. I almost forgot. So also up in the upper left corner is that link with the password. If you want to hit that, you can download the July 2nd release or join the Discord or both. One of my Discord users has already been reporting bugs, so I've fixed a few of those. Right now that's the best place to report bugs because we can have a discussion about it and stuff. It's kind of cool. So I'm going to slide this out of the way, get my little useless, semi-useless stats thing going here. It says we have two current viewers, one of which is Oak. How are you doing, Oak? So I think I can minimize this. All right, so yeah, so I got the release. I put all this stuff in. I did this, and I did this. So I can mark those as gray now. So I did not do any of the stretch goals, so those are still on my to-do list. Yeah. And Zathras is around since the beginning of original Mythruna. Actually, she was on the J Monkey Engine team doing documentation and stuff for us back in the day. So she's a longtime friend. So what's next? So yeah, I did. Let me bring up the master to-do list. I've been adding bugs. It's kind of nice. I was off yesterday. I'm off today. Obviously, I'm off Saturday and Sunday. Well, not obviously, but I am off Saturday and Sunday. So it's been kind of nice to deep dive down some of these things. So as I'm working on one thing, if I find a bug that sidetracks me, it's okay to go take a look at it. Like earlier, I was trying to debug one thing. I added some log statements and it started failing in a really weird way where it was telling me, like a function didn't exist when I know it did exist because I could see it logging stuff and I know it was called. And so there's this weird issue with the way Groovy reports missing methods and things. And so I tracked that down. Turns out that it's non-trivial to fix the exception reporting, and I'd already found the error, so I fixed the error. But things like that, I've already for this next release, which I'm just calling the summer release for now, I've already fixed some bugs. The big one that's in the current release is that sometimes when you come in, you'll just see butterflies laying there and not flying, or the town quest giver NPC will just lay there like it's not moving or anything. It looks like it has its brain AI debug if you have the debug stuff turned on. I keep getting texts. I'm sorry. So hold on. My younger child is coming back from a trip today, so I may actually cut a release because I fixed that problem. I may actually cut a release on Sunday night, which is some of the bug fixes I've got. It depending on whether the changes I make this weekend decrease stability at all. So far, they've only increased stability. I'm really sorry. My phone is blowing up at the moment. Okay, so cool. Sorry about this, guys. I try not to ignore my children. So I hope you're okay with me prioritizing them above a live stream. Okay, so yeah, and so I was able to go and fix some just general scripting cleanup, and Zathras reported a couple things, and so I fixed at least one of those. I fixed kind of some long-standing issues that just random things I find. What I'm currently working on is that sometimes NPCs generate in a weird place. So if I jump into this current world that I'm working on, by the way, so I originally tried to create a release on Monday, and found a bug where the quest giver generator. Anyway, I found a bug that was serious enough that I cut another release for the next day. But for fun, one of the things I did. Why is it taking so long? Oh yeah, because I'm on a live stream. That's why. One of the things I did discover. What was I saying? Oh yeah, brain fart. So anyway, so for fun, I just put the date in as a world seed. So on Monday, 2024 0702 or 0701 as a world seed, and that turns out to be a pretty fun world to play with, and so that's what I've been doing, because it's like thick forests right around the spawn mountain, which are kind of fun to play in, especially since they've got lots of flowers and tons of butterflies. But you'll see it in a second that in this town, so NPCs are the quest giver NPCs are supposed to generate in the town temple. And yeah, I've got the debug text turned on for the, let me brighten it up a little bit. I've got the debug text turned on for the butterflies, all the mobs. So the quest giver NPC was supposed to generate in this temple. Well, I mean, that's the temple he thinks of it, but all quest giver NPCs are supposed to generate in one of the town temples, unless the town does not have a temple, and then it will fall back to something else, and so on. But you'll often find when you go to a town that the quest giver NPC will end up in a random building that's nearby. So in this case, the quest giver NPC actually ended up he's down in the well. And I know this because if I turn on physics debugging, we can see him stuck down in the well. I mean, it might be a her. I actually haven't looked. So I've been debugging that. There's, you can see there's a lot of butterflies. I don't know if you guys can see all those little blue dots. So I may have to lower the frequency of butterfly generation, because I tweaked the frequency when I was in a place where there weren't many flowers. And now that I'm in a place that has a lot of flowers, I see that we generate a lot of butterflies. And maybe that'll be okay if when I'm splitting them up between not just the blue butterflies, but different kinds of bugs and different kinds of mobs. But still, it's a lot of, what we've got, like 157 active, where's the mobs? 45 mobs. So, anyway. So I'm trying to figure out why so I debugged a bunch of stuff, and when the quest is generated, it picks this temple to generate the NPC. And so it looks up, when the town was generated, it generates what I call point of interest data, POI, POI data. And so it looks up the raw POI data and finds this temple and says, yeah, I'm going to generate the NPC here. But then when the town was generated, each of these buildings generates a trigger. And so when you walk in, it knows that you walked into and out of that particular building. That'll be useful for me later for event tracking and things. I'm going to turn this off because it's going to get distracting. But for whatever reason, the NPC generates this as I want to generate in this temple. But then when he looks up the trigger or the actual generated data, he finds this well over here instead. And then of course he generates in the middle of it, which puts him down in the bottom. And I'm pretty sure for wells that I already fixed it so they won't generate in the middle. So it's because he thinks it's a temple, and they set their home to the temple so that they constantly try to walk into that center area so they don't wander far. So this is what I'm trying to track down right now, because it's either a pretty serious bug or it's related to how the town seed is generated. When you have whoa, yeah, you see lots of logging going on there. I need to turn that down. So when I generate the stuff for a town, like, I think this actually may only be a bug for towns that cross borders like this. But for those not familiar with random number generation, in computers, most random number generation is called pseudo-random number. It's not really random. It's a random looking sequence. And so you can seed it with a specific value, just like the world seed here seeds the world with a specific seed, and then it'll randomly generate from that. But it's predictable based on that seed. If you use the same seed, you'll get the same world. Besides the world itself, a town, especially one that crosses a border, is going to generate in many pieces. And so the town itself has a seed that it uses, so that if I have to generate this half of the town, I know sort of what random seed to use, and if I follow the same sequence of generation, you generate always the same number of buildings and so on. I should get the same layout. But what I think is happening is that one process of the town generation is oh yeah, we're getting all those frame lag exceeding stuff. That's normal with the live stream on. So anyway, what I think is happening is that during one pass of the generation, the buildings are laid out in a certain way that does not at all resemble what is actually done. I think in the real town, in the initial town generation that generated the triggers and the entities and things, this was a temple. And so then in the final version where it inserted the buildings and things, and where we can look up the buildings now, that's the temple and this is a well. And so I'm trying to figure out where the discrepancy is, because it's either something really egregious in how the different layers of the world are generated, or it's that seed problem, which unfortunately is not straightforward to fix. I actually have a bug in here because I know the seed is unstable. But I thought it was unstable because it used the entity ID, which for a particular world should be fixed. But the issue there is that, if the towns are not necessarily generated in the same order, so you spawn in here, and so if you use the same world seed and spawn in here, within the site of the spawn tower, you'll get all the same towns generated in the same order, and so you should in theory end up with all of the same entity IDs that I have for these towns. But beyond that, the order that the towns generate are going to it's going to depend on which direction you travel. And the goal of Mythruna is that if you put the same world seed in, it shouldn't matter which direction you travel. We will all find the same towns, same names, same layouts, etc. Whereas right now, I believe if I head west and you head east, outside of the spawn, we will end up with different town entity IDs, which means their layouts would be slightly different. The quest giver NPC will be different, and so on. And so I think I need to base the seed on something else, and trying to do that and have it be backwards compatible with existing worlds. That's going to be tricky. So I'm hoping that's not the issue, kind of. But I just don't know. That's what I was looking into, and stopping along the way to find additional bugs. I was hoping to roll this into maybe being able to like actually draw a map of the town, but that turns out to be like a lot of work to try to do on the live stream. But anyway, so that's what I've been debugging, which unfortunately requires a lot of world regeneration. So if it starts to bog down, we can do something else. But let's see how far we get on that, which is going to require me to like blow. Yeah, so every time I really test it, I have to blow the world away. But anyway, I narrowed it down to, I added a bunch of debug stuff to catch when the world was generated, or when the quest NPC was generated. And so, it looks up the town point of interest information and all of its children. It sees it's got a well, towers, temples. And so it picks the initial candidates which are the temples, and sure enough, it finds Temple 1, and Temple Type 1. It finds 2 temples, and it picks one of those. And I've taken the location of this temple, and it is that one that I was standing by. But down here, and ignore the these are all garbaged up because I was playing with the log statements. But when it actually looks up the entity for that, it gets this entity here, and it's a different one. It's in a different place, and it actually is the well. I can tell from the size. So it's not necessarily that the town layouts are different. It's that the entity IDs don't match. So I probably could have left the game running and we could have done some more investigation. Because I've got... I've got a test command set up that I can just add things and look into them with the game running. I'm trying to... Nice thing is you can see me, so if I just sit deep in thought for a second, you can see that I'm thinking and I don't have to talk. First, what I'm going to do is go back into the game for a second. I'm going to delete the quest giver NPC, and it should regenerate next time I come in. Actually, it should regenerate next time I leave the town and come back. Yeah, without color. I find I frequently normally do add coloring to my logs, but for whatever reason for Mythruna development I have not. But it's I find if I start taking too much logging out, then I miss it almost immediately, and I'm used to dealing with application servers where the logging could be quite extensive, and you're just used to just sort of skipping and skimming through, finding ways to grep through it. Like this, hold on. Like this over here was all filtered by this particular entity ID, so it's all related to this town and the generation in that town. So the annoying thing about being on the live stream is that everything is sort of slow. So yeah, I'm running the build one, so I should be able to go down here. And I agree with you, there should be quests that send you to the bottom of the well. Oh, it's a girl. What's her name? Hi, I'm Joe Human. Lalshore Tees Nundlin. Yeah, I gotta work on that sometime. See you later. In fact, I'm going to delete you. I gotta use the test wand, I think, to delete NPCs. Yep, delete object. Bye-bye. Okay, so she's deleted. But yeah, I totally think there should be quests, some quest that has you go to the bottom of the well for something. Just like if there's ever a waterfall, you know, there's got to be at least one waterfall with a cave behind it. It's like a video game trope. If there's a waterfall, there's got to be a cave behind it. Okay, so we better go back to the town. It should regenerate. Yeah, so see there's this bug, this other bug that I've logged that I have to figure out, where when you're approaching a town, it says you're leaving and approaching again. So that's kind of weird. Alright, so let's pop back up. So yeah, like I'm in the fun part of development where I just just log everything I find as I go and move on. I'm not trying to make a release. Okay, so she generated again. She generated in the same place. So what was I doing that for? Why did I want her to regenerate? Ah, crap. Was I proving that I could? Or was I going to add more logging? Shoot. Let me go back and see if I can retrace my mental steps here. I was looking at this. Oh, I know what I was going to do. I wanted to, I think I just wanted to get fresh logging with the formatting correct. Yeah, so see now. And make sure that it was consistent. So now that I know I can have her regenerate, we can potentially do some investigation right around this area, right? So if we look at the quest generation, it's this that's failing. Basically, we had the candidate, which was the temple. We looked up the insert info entity, so that the town is a point of interest. It's a poi. Pois have children, which are these insert infos, which is basically the minimum information we need, or the game needs to know how to generate that. So it's got like a type, like a general type of structure, like temple 1, well 1, whatever. You know, if there's a facing direction, what its min corner is, what its size is. And then from here, something generated triggers. I may have to turn off the butterflies for a while. In fact, before I go too far, let us... It's not base triggers, it is... in case I have to restart. It's not encounters. It is, right? It's not encounters. Maybe it is. No, no, see, these are all of the Foley sounds, which I still need to convert over to the new encounter system. Triggers. Not triggers, it's mobs. Yeah. So if I say false, so now we won't generate butterflies when I restart, if it gets to that point. So let me make it daytime again. All right. So quest giver gets generated under the thing. And I have, let's see, where were we? Base quests. So let me see what my current test is doing. It finds the point of interest, the town we're in. It finds all the temples. Okay, cool. So we're already partway there. Yeah, my nose is itching again. Must be something about the camera. It's all right, contained in. Oh yeah, I'm not contained in anything. So if I come over here and stand in this temple and then run the test again. Yep, so I'm in temple 1. If I go in the border of this well, stand here and run it again, it tells me I'm in the well. See, 17544 minus 56. And we could see that 17544 minus 56. So anyway, one of the things, since we have like 5 viewers on, one of the things we can discuss is like, you know, the kind of things I should work on next for this month. Or I want to try to not get bogged down with something big. So I might just spend the next couple weeks, you know, knocking some little items off like this. But I need to think of what my next focus is going to be. And while I always want to steer towards content, I have to admit that all of the work done to do the choppable blocks has really pushed some base systems a lot farther. And so we get closer to the point where I can just like, you know, generate content all the time. So I'm kind of leaning towards working on more base systems. So, well, for one thing, I didn't really finish the choppable blocks. It doesn't generate loot, for example. It doesn't like spawn little blocks. You can't collect the item, you know, you can't collect the stone you chop out and stuff like that. So I may work on that. Another thing I want to work on is when you have, you know, chairs and stuff in their physical objects, you can't actually drag them anymore. So like if I switch to the object tool and I put this chair down, so I can drag that chair around, no problem. He's just going to sit there like that. He's like actually an illusion right now. You know, if I make him a physical object, yep. So, and they kind of go hand in hand. But so right now that it's a physical object, I can run into it and it'll move around. But I actually can't lift it anymore. If I grab it and try to lift it, it doesn't do anything. And so for a lot of the next things, you know, we can swing our axes and swords and things around. That's great. But for a lot of the next things, we also have to start working on the mechanic of what it looks like to be able to drag items. And then the next step is some key or indicator that says I want to zoom in on some area, whether it's the top of a table or this section of the ground. So imagine there's some way of some key combination or mouse click combination, or I hold right click or something that would zoom into this little spot and bring up my inventory, and I could drag logs into a campfire of my own arrangement, you know, with kindling and things. because I want to light a fire in a particular way, that kind of thing. And that's where all of the crafting will start as well. So I'm kind of anticipating that being useful. So I made that static, so it'll just sit there. But yeah, I kind of want the reason I don't have material gathering yet is just because the choppable block stuff wasn't finished, and I felt like I was getting bogged down in that. So if I go back to that and make it so that as you chop stuff up, little particles come out and you can collect them, then they have to go somewhere. So anyway, back to our problem at hand, but I thought that's the thing, if anybody wants to discuss that. Oak has an opinion on that, and I appreciate his position. And I agree that's one of the next steps, because they got to get into the substance matrix, and every block, like this, these cobble blocks are a collection of substances. There's stone, and whatever is going to make up mortar. And so when you use your build wand to disintegrate one of these, you'll get some section of base resources based on that. Just like when you kill wood, you get some sort of base of organic material that gets sucked into your build wand. Versus, when you chop something up and you're carrying little gems around and things, those will take up inventory spots. And so I need to work out all that stuff. And it is sort of very important. And the substance matrix is also what will cover what the difference is if I smack that with metal versus smack that with wood. That's the substance matrix. So if I know what this is made of, and I know what my wooden club is made of from a quote-unquote substance perspective, then I can start building matrices. I know matrices is the typical way, but matrices is correct, by the way. It also correct. So when wood hits stone, what sound does that make? What sort of physical restitution happens? Who gets the brunt of that impact? Metal on stone, wood on stone, metal on wood. These all have like sort of implications on, and so it doesn't seem like it would be, but that the necessary steps for getting inventory material resource counters, so to speak, in your inventory is sort of the base for all of that stuff. So it is intriguing to get started on that. Plus the chopping chopping, I don't know if any of you tried it, but it's fun right now, but it's a little bit lame just because it's not like producing any particle effects at all. So it would be nice if it did. All right, so back to the bug real quick while you guys think about that, and you can argue in the chat. So we got her there, and I already did my test, and so now we can go over to the script. Well, we figured out this is the thing that's wrong. So we'll steal that code, take it over to my little test command. Contained in child structure, find insert So it needs to know the town, which is the poi, and the target, which is the child, I think. So let me find this. Is that what it is? Find insert info entity. Okay, so somewhere in his API, I think. Find insert info. Yeah, there it is. So the insert info is the target. Yes, that's the child. Right? No. Yes. Child. So So the reason this is fun is because this script is live reload. So if I come back over here to the temple, it should give us the bad lookup that the standard generation got. So test. So we have what we have here is a failure to communicate. Oops. All right. So we. Oh, point of interest. Oh, yeah. So I need to do the town entity ID. Okay. Because this is the poi. And can I find the point of interest has a oh yeah, I gotta go back this way. So point of interest has an ID by nature of being, and the ID can be converted to an entity, right? So why isn't that? So I can go entity to point of interest. Yeah, by going to the feature ID. So I ought to be able to go the other way around. Point of interest's parent is a feature. Oh. Get children. Get feature ID. So I'd be able to convert that to an entity ID. So def town equals new entity ID poi dot get ID, I think. Okay, so let's try that. Let me make sure I got that right. Find insert info entity. It wants an entity and an insert target. Okay. Whoops, I don't have to go like far. It's right here. Alright, so I did that. Let's try to run it again. Test. Alright. Yep, so it found the temple I'm in. Oh. Oh, no, okay. It may have actually given an error. Yeah. Why, oh why? So it's not even running this. Oh, did I put it in the wrong place? Contained it. Nope, that's it. Oh, I logged it instead of echo. Yeah. That's why. Okay. Being dumb. It's important to be dumb in the middle of a live stream. Okay, 9689, is that the error bad one we got before? Base. It doesn't tell us. Yeah, 9689. So we found a bad one. Oh. Just make it look the same as the others. And so then over here, basically trying to duplicate the bad code so that's the structure, and then we can find its trigger info. But what we want to find... Do I print the ID out here? No. So, does insert info have... No, I think insert info doesn't get an ID because one hasn't been generated yet. Yeah. So what happens is early on, yeah, so what's next? So during world generation, early on, something decides, let's put a town here. Town here. And so it creates a feature ID, creates the town entity, creates the town point of interest object, and that has a bunch of insert info children. And that sort of loosely describes the town. This is how it works now. It's not always going to work this way. Maybe. It's all sort of temporary just to get towns and stuff in there. But it sort of decides the layout of the town. Now, the actual buildings will be based on, who generates the triggers. So let's do a little digging. So that's the next thing. Who generates the actual building data? Who generates the trigger entities? Because they are disagreeing. Building data clearly matches this stuff, but this is right. This is wrong. Okay? That's the discrepancy. Because we see what we're looking up here in that test that I just did. So this, find insert info entity. So every one of these guys should eventually, when we start to get close to the town and it needs to generate actual stuff, at some point it generates triggers for all the buildings. And let me see what this is looking up. So it is finding all of the children of the town. Oh, structure info. So listing these in the logs is going to be a bit useless unless we interesting. It's using containment. So let's steal this code. So we're going to get all of the structures in the town. Town structures. And get that spawn location. We will echo this. And inside. Okay, this is probably going to be more data than will fit on our console here. So let's see. I mean, I pretty much guarantee it. Oh, Error can invoke method contains on null object. Oh. 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 So target was the oh, we got the world API right there. So the target was the insert info. So def temple equals null. Temple equals child. Temple. All right, and then okay, that I see what it's doing. I'll explain in a second. I want to see what the output looks like. Okay. Oh yeah. So, yeah. This is actually getting the correct answer. We need to print the entity IDs. Child. So we're narrowing in on something, I think. Okay. Yeah. So these canopy blocks that we're standing under. So that's what this. So and so makes us generate structure info entities get generated. I think that's what happens. And they're correct. So at the time where we have to decide, okay, I'm going to start inserting blocks, there are these structure info objects. And let me see if I can find the code for that. Might be illuminating. Not here. It would be... Oh, why wouldn't it be? Structure info. Okay, we have to do a little searching. It's an yeah. It's a entity system thing. So structure info is a component on the entity system. And so at the time of town generation, we create a bunch of these things, marks a structure in the world with some associated information back to what generated it. So like we know what factory created it. Yeah, so we know then how to make buildings from it. Yeah. And so from there, we can figure out what type it is. And so in here, you can see that thing up there that says dash 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 inside. We are inside the stone canopy blocks, which is literally what this is the stone canopy blocks. So far, everything is right. I think maybe what's happening is we are getting a double contains. Okay, so maybe the contains check is wrong. And we're getting more than one answer. So let me move this to inside the contains check. And we'll run again and see how many we get. Whoops. Oh, we get 3. Oh, contains check is busted. So here, look. Actually, so, and what happens is, so we're saying, hey, I've got this insert info I found, whatever, right? So give me all of the structures for this town, and if that child location is inside, basically, I've decided I want to generate an NPC here in this temple, and that temple is just a thing when the town was created in sort of an abstract way. This is a town. It's got a temple in the north part and a well in the south part, and we don't know what kind of well, we don't know what kind of temple, we don't know exactly where they are, which way they're facing, we don't know any of that stuff, but we know, hey, it's about here, and the other thing's about here. And then when it's actually generated, it generates these structures. And so what I'm trying to do, they're not directly related to each other because these little insert info things that are generated, they don't have an ID. There's no unique discriminator for them because it's not necessary. They only exist inside of the town. But when I generate entities for them and structures, with the actual buildings, they generate entities. And what's happening is when we try to match, hey, I want to generate an NPC in this temple that this town knows it has, what's the actual structure? We go through that loop, and it turns out we're finding 3 things, which we shouldn't. So for some reason, the small well thinks it contains, or that the temple, for some reason, the temple thinks it contains the small well. And that can't be true. But because it's the first one it finds, that's why we get the wrong one. So it is not anything to do with the seed. It really just genuinely is that this algorithm is busted, which is good because that means we can potentially fix it right here on the live stream. But yeah, it finds the graves too. So maybe there's just a big overlap. So what graves is it finding? Probably these right here. So for whatever reason, the contains for this finds it inside the temple, and the contains for this. So the temple thinks it contains this, and the temple thinks it contains that. So we need to debug a little bit the temple. So if we come over here, let me do this. So we can see that the temple location is, well, in fact, we have it over here. Temple location is 17528. Let's just cut and paste this. Right, so I want to put it in this document for now. Whoa, okay. So what I'm interested in is this right here, the location and the size. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this down here so I can see it. And we're going to go to that location, 17528, which I'm going to guess is down here. 17528. Oh, let's select my block wand. Find a... Let's use jack-o'-lanterns. They're really obvious. So 17528 and minus 72, which is up here. So I'm in 17528 minus 72, so we got about a blink. So if I stand on top of this, whoops. Can't stand on top of the spheres so easily anymore. Because they're actually round. Maybe this wasn't a great idea. So it's about there, right? I think that's right. 17528, 72. Yep, so that's where it is. And so then if we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So, did I get that right? Yeah, I did. Ah. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Did I get that one right? Yep. Okay, so yeah, probably because I think the town plots. Well, first of all, it could be that contains is not doing a contains check, but a intersection check, in which case it's misnamed. Why won't you stand up there on top? There you go. So it's conceivable that the graveyard is overlapping this. So let's look at our gotta find a dark background. So let's go back in the temple because the ceiling is a nice dark background. Okay, so temple 16 by 16. Let us add some more information. So how do we do... Oh, because the contains check is not considering the size at all. So it's just those lower left corners. So so chances are the location of the graveyard is like right about here, and the location of the well is probably also right about here. So they do the locations of the, because it's the corner of that particular object. And that's not really what we're looking for. So yeah, so how do we take the size into account when we don't have a size? If you look, structure info, this guy doesn't know what his size is. But somehow we used it to look up the factory ID. And that is from this. And these guys will know. But that doesn't really help me. So let's see what happens when the town is generated. So we get all of the... So we get the points of interest in this particular tile, and by tile I mean that, 1024 by 1024 area of the world. Yeah, so here's where I set the seed to the feature ID, and that's what I was talking about. The order of world generation would affect a different seed ID, but that's not what's tripping us up here. We calculate the bounds of the children. It has more than one child. So this is where we generate the big trigger, and we remove all the trees. Yeah, so that's why the town's blanket clear cut the trees. Then we go through all of the children. And it's a spawn tower, we do a spawn tower. Otherwise, figure out the climate type. We figure out what factory ID we want. That's all good. We figure out what blocks we're going to insert. And we create the insert. Offset for the factory. Make sure it's still in the tile. So we look up the structure entities. But when we finally create a structure entity, we give it a trigger. And the trigger has the size. But I think it's well, X size, Y size, Z size. And create the structure. And the block insert. So this is for all the children, right? Yep. So we could look up the trigger info. Let's confirm. Being able to live reload, super nice. So the well is small. The graves are small. The canopy is, so these are accurate sizes. I can easily sort of fix this problem, but I'm trying to fix it in a way that won't incidentally break some edge cases. So I'm trying to remember how this is all done. Well, and I can see the code, so I know how it's done. So yeah, when we create the buildings, we make these structure infos and trigger infos. And so from that location, I know the exact size of this particular building. Is it always guaranteed to be 100% inside? So what I think happens is probably something like, the town is generated here, and I think it's similar to the way dungeons are generated. I'd have to look, but so the town is split up into plots. So many fixed size plots at the moment, right? This isn't always the way it's going to be. Oops, yeah, so I'll draw that one a little better. So many fixed size plots, then it decides I'm going to generate, a well in here, and a well's only this big, so maybe I could generate the well up here, I could generate the well up here. Basically anywhere randomly in there, that well could be generated. The temple might get generated in this lower corner, or the graveyard might get generated, that kind of thing. And so I think that this is the insert info, except for the well. Oh well, oh well, oh well. No, look. So, where's the well? Yep, the well is 16 by 16. Everybody is 16 by 16. So yes, the town is generated on a 16 by 16 grid, which means that I bet if we looked at the here and traced back to what location is it is probably randomly put within that insert. So let's see. We get the location. We get a random type. Where do we... So we get the size. Slide things around if we need to. We don't, but we could. Does that mean everything is always on the grid right now? Yeah, so we're not doing any randomization that I can see. My other favorite game calls the POI base stamps and has code to check the grid for properties and blank areas to put the stamps in. I'm sure it is more complicated than that, but thought I should say it. That favorite calls the POI base stamps. I think it sounds similar to what I'm doing, right? This is not how towns will eventually be generated. It's just, it was convenient for me to slice out an area of the world, divide it by 16, and decide, you know, for each of those grid squares, let's just randomly put this building in here, randomly put this building in here, and so on. And if they're not flat enough, it won't put anything there, that kind of thing. But in reality, towns won't be generated that way. I don't want to get too far into it, but on a larger map, you know, you have a town up here, and you have a town down here, and you maybe have two little villages here. And so we've decided, you know, to draw roads around the land here to here, you know, on a rough basis. I don't know specifically where that road's going to go, but I know it needs to go around this mountain and over this stream and so on and so forth. And then, you know, similarly down to this, and maybe this one has to go around a mountain to do like this. And so already for this town, before I even generate it, I know it's got a road coming in from the northwest, one that goes out east and one that goes out southwest. And so when I get into the actual generation of the town, I sort of have this rough layout of what those roads will be and what their main thoroughfares would be. And, you know, then I can build the town up off of that, so that it logically sort of builds out from, you know, the roads. So it won't always be like this nice grid. But anyway, it works for now, right? And it's certainly testing a lot of interesting things. But I think regardless, even when this happens, it'll be an insert info. And then within the insert info, I can decide, hey, there's going to be, you know, an airport here. Somewhere in this 16 by 16 thing, I know there's going to be an airport there because I figured out that there's enough space for it. When we actually go to generate that, like the player's getting close enough that I actually have to decide there's a building there, I can randomly decide, yeah, I'm going to put that airport up there. But the airport will always be fully inside of this, which is this is the insert info, and this is the trigger and the structure. So I think the structure and the trigger will always be inside the inference server. If there's another point I was supposed to get from your insightful paragraph there, let me know. Because I'm thinking about 5 things at once, and I may not be giving that the full attention it deserves. I'm just trying to decide. I think here is where I would slide, but I don't. Which means that if we go back here and I was to exit out, in theory, everybody is lined up on their grid, and that does look about like what happens, though then I can't explain why. Nope, that's what these guys look. I can't explain why these walls don't line up. Like these two guys should line up perfectly, though they do on the other side, so it could be that I'm just backwards. So let's go over here. and turn around and let's see. No, because these guys line up down here and not here. So it's clearly these that are lining up. And for whatever reason, it could be that this structure thinks it's bigger than it is. Why? Oh, hello. So it could be that this structure just thinks it's bigger than it is. Actually, you know what we can do? We can jump in here. Oh, let's face in here so it'll be dark. We can go like this because it'll tell us what we're in. We're contained in building 1. It's a large farmhouse, and it thinks it's 14 by 14. But yeah, you can see. Well, you can't. You can see that the farmhouse was placed right at the corner of the insert info. So let's call the insert info is the grid, right? Or maybe that's what your stamp is, or the structure itself is the stamp. I don't know. But this is very similar to the way dungeons are generated, by the way. So I could actually go a long way generating towns this way and connecting all their doors with roads. So yeah, it seems to be putting it right on the thing, but it'll always be inside. So I think I almost hit escape. That would have been bad. So we don't do any randomization, but we do check to make sure yeah, so if it's not even going to be in the tile, then we leave it out. But oh, because yeah, this is what I was talking about. We generate the actual buildings one tile at a time. So on the map, you know, I showed that this town crossed a grid, which means we generate the top half of the town separate from the bottom half of the town. And so this is going through all of the work of deciding. It has to do it in order because any randomization has to happen in order or things will get screwy. So it goes through the trouble of deciding there's going to be a building there and figuring out where it's going to place it, but then it doesn't because it's not in the tile. So it, even though this particular town is split across 2 tiles, for each tile it will calculate the whole town and then just skip everything that's not in the current tile. But yeah, so I think that we can. So I could have looked up the inserts too. Anyway, I think we have everything we need in the structure and the trigger to do a better intersection test. And I will implement it in the test code first. So let's def structure, or struct info equals, and we don't actually need that, do we? Because the spawn position should be the same. Interesting. So let's go back over to where we created this stuff. Yeah, so we created the spawn position at the location, and that is the only thing we actually don't care about this at all for this check. Why do we look it up at all? Oh, to get its type. Yeah. So maybe we do. In here, we don't use it for anything. Do we use it for anything in the real? Nope. It's just for debugging. So we only need the child locate. We only need the child location, which we already have. We need so structure info, trigger info. Does trigger info give me a single size? X size, Y. Yep, it does. Convenient. Okay, so size equals child structure info. I'm going to do the little question mark just in case it doesn't have one. And so if size, we'll do 1, else we'll do a different one. So maybe we don't ever want to find something that doesn't have it's trigger info that we want. So let's just say temple contains child location size. Then we'll do all of that. Okay, and now I actually will have to exit out. Because I have to add a new contains to the poi. So, Oak, when you're talking about your other favorite game, are you talking about 7 Days to Die or something else? Because I actually watched some videos of 7 Days to Die. I had watched it before, as it turns out. I did remember it once I saw. They were from like Alpha 18 though, so maybe there's new, more exciting stuff. But I could see some intersection. Okay, what did I want to do? I wanted to do a contains. I hope you all are still on. Right, it says we're still on. Okay, contains. Okay, I'm going to have to exit out here. Ah, nice. I also watched Splattercat Gaming play like Caves of Cud the other day. I keep coming back to that game. It's the idea behind Caves of Cud strongly intersects with where I want to go in many ways with Mythruna. Obviously the setting and the graphics and everything else are way different, but the idea of the flexibility and, you know, base systems that then excuse me, that then build on each other and can be combined in infinitely many ways and so on. That's definitely where I'm going. You know, hours and hours of playing the game and still not seeing all the content, that kind of thing. All right. So if looks like 1991. Are you talking about Caves of Cud looks like 1991? The graphics are awful. Yeah, I mean, but it does bring up a lot of nostalgia for me. It's funny because for those of us who actually were old enough to have played like the Ultima games, you know, Ultima 3 Exodus and those back before the graphics started to really take off, this game is Caves of Cud is very nostalgic for that style. But then if you know those games, you can see they've done more with it, and it is better. It's kind of hard to describe. But yeah. So hopefully I can make something that has sort of that roguelike Caves of Cud, sort of random. Always want to see what's over the next hill. Always looking for the next treasure chest to look. But in a game that is sort of prettier to look at, maybe. And 3D, right? So. Yeah, me too. Okay, so if the point even though intersects is working on pure radius, I'm going to use the box for contains. The issue is that I found cases where the NPC... So I only added contains recently? I mean, I remember adding this just the other day. But the function that I'm replacing... No, wait. World APIs. Target is an insert info. Aha. So let's not do this here. Location, so contains, okay. So we want a contains with point and size, and this looks much more like it. And so let's make a contains that splits that out. X point Y point Z, size X, size Y, size Z, and public boolean contains okay, we'll have everything fixed before you get back. So in this case, so this is a standard box versus box intersection, and so you could split it out into X min, X max, but if you've done this a bunch of times, you know that if X plus X size is less than location to X, or Z plus Z size, oops, that would have been a bad typo, is less than location dot Z, then the box we're trying to check is completely below our box. So it can't be there. If the min corner of the box we're passing in is greater than, so if it's outside, we can actually just steal this one directly, right? Because this is outside of this box. And so we'll keep some of this logic. If size y equals 0, then our insert info is, I think they are all 0, right? Yep. So if the size y is 0, we ignore the y aspect, which is fine for now, but eventually there'll be underground towns, and that's not going to work. So basically, if it's if the one box, so you have a box like this, right? If the one box is completely below, then it's not intersecting. Actually, this is an intersects, so we want to do a contains, which is different completely. So these are ruling out, if our box is completely below or completely above or completely outside here, then there's no way this box could contain the other one. These are all cases we know can't be true. Okay? But that doesn't mean that it contains it, right? So now, once we've got those out of the way, we can make sure that if so, yeah. Actually, we can do better. If x is less than location x, we can't contain it. We overlap. We at best overlap. Or z is less than, z is less than location z. Then at best we overlap, or we're at worst we don't intersect at all. And if x is greater than, if x plus x size is greater than location x plus size, then at best we overlap or we're completely outside. If z plus z size is greater than location z, so at best we overlap. Meaning, so like, so if you just take the example of x plus x size location, so that covers, like if this is our box, that covers this case, that cover, no, it doesn't cover. So that's what it doesn't cover, right? It covers this case, like we can't contain it because our top end is outside of the box. It also covers, this case where we're completely outside. And so, yeah, if we're at all below the minimum or we're at all above the maximum, then there is no way we could possibly be contained. Okay, and if the size of our insert info is 0, then we're not even considering y. Otherwise, we need to do a similar thing with the y. If the y is less than location dot y, can't contain it. And if the y plus y size is greater than location dot y plus y size y, then similar to those other above, we also can't contain it. It's overlapping at best. Okay. All right. Now let's make sure that compiles. Create all classes. And I am going to go ahead and add that to the real function. So if we come over here to the World API, yeah, wow, it's so... Okay, so we get the size. So we'll just comment that one out for now. So now we should be checking for full containment. And we should run it. I hope this sort of debugging is entertaining. If nothing else, we're learning a lot about how Mythruna generates its worlds and the complexity therein. That's taking a surprisingly long time. It's because of the live stream, but it always makes me nervous. Generating a world as big and potentially complicated as Mythruna is quite tricky. And so that code is a bit complex, right? Okay, so where's my... All right, first of all, let's let you guys be able to see too. I forget that compression does nasty things with... Okay, so let's go over here. And check our test. Uh-oh. Rut row. Oh, farts. Right, I cut and paste that stuff over, but I didn't fix the... and this won't reload, so... Just double checking. Child, target, size. Okay. So we get to watch the game load again, which just gives Oak more time to put his kids to bed. I do think it's neat that some of you guys in the community have sort of grown up while I watched, in a sense. Like, you guys, some of you may have been interested in the game back in 2011, 2012, and so it's neat to see you guys come back to the game and hear about how things are different. But like in the case of Oak, he has kids now and stuff. Do 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 do. Bump 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 bump. All right, let's try again. Please try again. And we'll leave it dark for a second. Okay. So now we only find 9703, which is the right one. Okay, so if I give you guys the ability to see, and I go and I delete, so I go back to my test wand. Sorry, lady. And actually, she might look different when when she respawns now, because I think her seed is based on her location, maybe. All right. So if we fly away outside of the town until it tells us we've left, not exited, but leave. All right. We've got to unapproach. Yep. Okay. So we've left the town, and now we can fly back in. Where are we arriving? Somewhere around here. You're approaching. Ah. Oh! It generated a pet for her this time. Nice. So she should be at the temple this time. And it might not be a she, it might be a he now. So she'll be at one or the NPC. We're not going to assume it's gender just yet. Will be at one or the other of these temples. It's over here. Yep, and it did generate same. Nice. So her seed must be based on the town. And she's got a couple Gafen as pets. Nice. Pretty cool. Alright. Ha! I am so happy to have fixed this bug because it could have been a really serious issue. But it's nice to know that the town generation is actually consistent with the data that's stored. There's like two sets of data, and anytime in computers you have two related but separately stored sets of data that are overlapping and redundant, it's always a source of problems. You try to avoid having this correlated redundancies, if at all possible, because anytime one of them can get a little off from the other, you can't always avoid it. In this case, I could not avoid it, but I'm happy that that's not the issue. What do we codependent state is what I call it, right? If you can narrow it down to just one thing, do that. We lit a fire the other day, and I was watching our real fire, and it moves a lot faster than mine. I may need to speed up the animation on this random fire. True story. If you watch this fire and record it, I think it takes... I calculated it once. I think it takes 17 minutes before you'll see the same loop. And of course, two flames right next to each other will not have the same, will not look the same. So if I put fire down here, you can see they're different, right? I'm very proud of this fire, by the way. They're different, and I think they're different in a way where they will never, like this guy will never repeat anything that this guy did, though eventually they will all loop because they've got sort of it's a like fractal layering of, you know, several different loops, and so you get like one that loops every 3 seconds, another loops every 5 or 7 seconds. It's like not really lined up such that you know, for any one image, it's a combination of several layers of things. And so it takes like 7 minutes or 17 minutes before it will loop. But they'll always be different because it's, you know, sort of location based as far as where each of these loops starts. That's my recollection. I did it a long time ago, so I don't remember exactly what it is, but I'm very proud of the fire. Somewhere I have a time lapse of me drawing the base images for the flames that are combined to make the ooh. Hello. Oh, okay. Long style query, we don't care. So we fixed that bug, and now we have a couple NPCs. And the funny thing is, like, it spawned 2 Gafen, but this one doesn't seem to have a... Oh, it has to have a home or it wouldn't be wandering. Flock to... Yeah, you're going to get lonely. When are you going to go home? I'm going to hit the... So, by the way, the X key now is the walk key. So, like, if you look now, he's... Yeah, I should probably put some pants on him. He's in his underwear. Basic tunic. Pants with belt. Okay, so now at least he's wearing clothes. But this lets him walk around. Without the joystick, there was no other way to walk around. You were always jogging. And sometimes he walks like a girl. He walks like a guy acting like he's trying to walk like a girl, because the rigs are different. But I'm surprised this Gafen never goes home. I wonder if the Gafen don't have a home. You've thought there were a few... I can't turn this... Turns out there were a bunch. Oh, yes. Yeah, so there was the original Rogue, and then there was NetHack, and... from NetHack, there was one, I think it started with an A. At any rate. Yeah, that was a very prolific. And of course there was the Muds, and so on. It's funny that the so he flocked home. That's what he did. He went home. So for whatever reason, that other Gafen never comes home. But that's all right. I'm okay with that. But this is cool. So I fixed that bug. I'm just knocking the bugs down, guys. It's funny when they walk backwards and sideways. I need to implement a photo mode soon, because Zathras was asking... Oh, sorry, he did come back. So he either flocked to his buddies or he decided to come home. But anyway, so now as you go... Oh, well, I mean, there's some bugs, right? But now as you go to different towns, the NPC that generates there will 75% of the time have pets. So she's got a couple Gafen as pets. There can be, I think, up to 3, and it might be dogs or Gafen in some combination. Maybe it's up to 4. Yeah, I think it's up to 4 if it generates at all. Anyway, I'm going to talk to her. Hi, I'm Joe Human. I'm Walsher. He's in England or whatever. You said something here about some trouble? I was adventuring in the area null of town. Oh, no. Oh, man. Did I break something? Oh, no. What kind of trouble? Okay, I was adventuring in the area null of town. So this is... so here's where I go. Master Tracker. And I say... bug. NPC quest null of town. What's World Seed 2024-0701. Oops. Seed NPC in what's the town? 2572. Town 2572. All right. So it's probably something simple that maybe I broke recently. So I'll spend a minute looking into it. Let's see. Let's talk to her again. What kind of trouble? I was venturing in the area null of town. Mark, let's see. I was venturing in the area of null of town. Where can I see the raw... testpoi description.txt. But let's look at think it would be in base quests, which we've already been all over. That's why I worry I screwed something up. Yeah, see, it's like it tried to look up something that was not in the things. So somewhere in here... Find, or is it in the standard mobs? Mm-hmm. So answer to find quest. Lost my... I was verb in the area dir of town. Angle index. So angle index is bogus. Let us log... So what did I do yesterday? I worked on Mythruna and I knocked a bunch of bugs out, which was fun, and went to the store, the fireworks store with the kids, and then we grilled burgers and hot dogs and lit off fireworks. And of course it in this area it rained like torrential rain for like an hour at around 4 o'clock. It had cleared up and was super humid when I was out grilling, but it cleared up and fine for fireworks. And somebody to the southwest of us, yeah, was lighting off mortars. I mean, you could see him up above the trees, and big like professional style fireworks. And I have no idea where that was or what they were doing, or whether it was like a real display, whatever. We lit off our own. Spent too much money on gunpowder and paper, but and then my youngest, who's now of course a high school graduate, my youngest and I went swimming in the pool, but because of all the rain, the frogs were out, just crazy loud chorus, and we had like some frogs that would try to swim in the pool and then would get out of the pool. And so my older child, she does not like frogs at all, so she was not swimming with us. So younger child and I swam at like 11 p.m. or something. It was kind of nice. All right. Yeah, the rain had really cooled things off, so the pool especially. Okay, so dir is bad. Direction names. So anyway, I'm going to add a bunch of logging real quick. Did you do anything fun for the 4th? Did any of you of the 4 that are still on, according to this stat? If you're American, at least. Did you do anything fun for the 4th? And then today I watched Dune 2 with older child, so that was fun. Hadn't seen it yet. Okay, so let us exit the game, because these are scripts that won't auto-reload. Log, info, Kilroy, angle. Oops. Let's go ahead and source loc, target loc. Regular workday here, yeah. I took today off, so it's too tempting when you have a Thursday off. So I made it a 4-day weekend. Unfortunately, my whole team did too, so I didn't even have to feel guilty about it. All right, so log info Kilroy angle delta and angle index and dir. We'll also do dir names, direction names. Okay. Oh, I hadn't hit enter. Yeah, nice. Yeah, the nice. Oh, cool. Yeah, we tried when the kids were very young. We tried to do, go out to like the local fireworks display and stuff. But at that time, both of my kids were on the autism spectrum, and they dealt with loud noises to different degrees. Nice. Yeah, I haven't heard too many fireworks tonight, but of course I'm on headphones right now. But what was I saying? Oh yeah. So and they would tolerate that to different levels. So we started just doing our own little ones at first, and then as they got older, I would buy some big ones and we'd light them off out in the backyard. And then at some point, we got to the point where they could pick out their own and go ahead and light them off themselves and stuff like that under supervision. And so now I stand back. I only light like maybe 10% of them at this point. It's kind of fun. It's a total waste of money, but so what I want to do, tail-f, Prep Kilroy. Alright, so we should be able to... Where'd she go? There she is. Hello. Hello, Lashore. What kind of trouble? Alright, so... we got... angle 22.5. Angle index is 16, which means probably outside of our... It's interesting. They did get to... Oh! Awesome! Nice. Yeah, we used to buy... So, every year we'd buy a box of those little pop-it things where you little... throw them down, they make pops, and we'd buy sparklers. And so I've stopped doing that because like we still have boxes and boxes of poppets and sparklers and stuff from previous years. And sure enough, we still had some left over. So, angle delta 360. So what's going to happen is this... let's just do the math. Since I didn't put one particular log statement in. Where's my calculator? There it is. There. So we add 360. We get 354. Okay, so yeah, we really are close to the top. And then we divide by 16, which, how did it only 22.5? Oh, 360 divided by, I gotcha. So, fortunately I still have this, we can add in 360, and then we divide this by 22.5, which is 1/16 of the... And so that is 15.7, and do I round? No. Oh. Angle index is the angle. We add in half, but why do we do that? If we're going to do that, we have to do it before we do this check. Because what happened is we were so close to the edge, then we basically pushed ourselves outside of the 0 to 360 range. So, I don't know. The coder who did this, me, he wasn't thinking clearly. So, we will rearrange this slightly. And angle plus equals angle delta times 0.5. So we basically, and I just prefer to put parentheses here. That's redundant. But because I'm trying to copy this down here. So we add in, because we want to make sure we are in the wedge we expect, and where's my thing? Like, if you think of the compass rose, right, you get these sort of, oh man, I'm awful. So you get these sort of 16 directions, right? And we don't want we don't want the angles between here and here. We want the angles halfway to either side of this, because I want to know, we're basically heading north, or we're basically heading, north by northeast, or we're heading northeast, or, northeast by east, that kind of thing. East by northeast, that's what it would be. And so on, or east. So we want like half of a 16th either side. And so we'll do that, and then we'll do our angle check. Angle after angle plus delta, and then angle corrected. And then we should be able to say just angle here. The integer value of angle divided by angle delta, which is just going to chop it off. And at that point, it should never be more than 360, or never be 360 or more. And so we should always be within the range. So let us eat the lettuce. Okay, we're almost done. I was gonna try to, like, that was the thing, is like I figured we had a little time. I was just gonna go on a quest real quick, hopefully real quick. I didn't know how. I thought it'd be fun to just wander around for the last 20 minutes, and sure enough, we found a bug, so I could fix another bug. And this is sort of what I've been doing. It's kind of a meta game for me, right? I pick something to do in the game, and that pokes at a like area, and then find bugs along the way and fix them. So not as fun for the players, but it's entertaining for me, and it keeps me from dropping 200 hours in Caves of Cud or something. Do my daily Sudoku in my game of Minesweeper every day. And that's it. Okay. Alright, so let's make it bright outside. And we should be able to talk to her. What kind of trouble? I was east. Yep. So, yep, that's what it was. So I was venturing in the area east of town when I set the axe down while I adjusted my pack. I remember I was at a tall, round stone tower. Ooh, good. That should be easy to find. With a shingled roof. And maybe more than a kilometer from here. Things have been keeping me busy, so yeah, I can try to find it for you. We can hang along for the ride. So east. Let's check the map. So yeah, east. I almost was completely dyslexic there and went the wrong way. So yeah, the rising sun. Oh, let's go ahead and see if we can do it before the day passes. I really need to work on the AI so that we can get the pets implemented, because I'd really like a dog to be hanging out with. Implement some other pets like lizards and things. Okay, we've left the town. Oh, buggy tree generation. Yeah, somehow the little trees, either the tree generation of the little trees is buggy, or they tend to report their size incorrectly and overlap with other trees. Okay, so we still got a ways to go. Let's zoom in so that it feels farther away. But look, it's dark forest. I love this place. Can you imagine like some creatures hiding out in here? You can't really see very well. Visibility is not great. You hear something rustling off in the distance. Because I think if we had the volume ladder, you could tell when we hit the really dark places of the woods, the volume goes down on everything. Like you can't hardly hear the birds until we start stepping out again. Now you can hear the birds again. And so if you're in the deep dark forest, it gets real quiet. And some of these forests will be like pitch black. Yeah, like over here. It gets so thick. It's not pitch black, but it's getting close, right? Like, we're pretty close to pitch black here. So if I were to find high ground, I bet reasonably that I could see the tower even from here. Because that, what she described, that's a serious tower. That's not just a little... Let's pop up here. That's a serious tower. Alright, so I'm trying not to cheat, but let's pop up above the trees here for a second. Yeah, so I think that's where we're headed over there, that tower. Yeah. Okay, so let's jump back in here. Alright. The tree canopy is so thick you can't hardly fall through it. That's funny. Okay, so we got a long way to go. And we're burning daylight. But every now and then I have to actually play the game. Alrighty. Cruising now. Forest getting a little thinner. And actually we're getting pretty decent performance considering we're on the live stream. And I've crossed many borders. One of the other things I have to take care of, talking about what's next, one of the other things I have to take care of is generating the regions so that I know what forest I'm in. Because one of the reasons I can't fix the town names is because they're supposed to be influenced by the properties of the land they're around. So if a town is on a coastline, it might just or by a large lake, you know, it might be include that information in the town name, you know, like, you know, something coast or you know, lake port or something to that effect. In order to start building those adjectives into the random town names, I need to know regions. So I need to know on this particular map that I'm in the midst of a, you know, particular big forest, big enough to be named. I mean, if we popped up, right? Oh, okay, cool. We found the seam between tiles. Yeah, it's a bug. So this is a big forest, right? And so it's going to have a name like green, you know, Green Heart or something, you know, random generated name. And in order to do that, I need to know regions. I need to know that I'm in the middle of a big contiguous forest, and that if I went around the mountain around the other side, I'd be in the same big contiguous forest, and that mountain is fully inside of the, you know, because that mountain might be named based on the fact that it's in the middle of the Green Heart or whatever the name of this particular forest is, that kind of thing. So, and I'm keen to give my towns and stuff names other than town 2972 and stuff. So I'm trying to think of low-hanging fruit because I'd really like to cut another release on my birthday at the end of the month. So where are we? So, oh, we're right in. So the tower's over here somewhere. Yep, there it is. Okay. Eventually, one of the companions that you'll be able to get are familiars. Like, you'll have a potential relationship with your pets where they can become familiars. That's the plan anyway. And so, yeah, so this looks like near where Lashar's axe should be. So now we got to hunt. At any rate, I would like to be able to have you be able to possess your familiar, so that if you had like a falcon or an owl or whatever is your familiar, you could possess them and go flying up above the trees. Oh boy, things slowed down there for a second. So, Lalshore, did you lose your axe inside of the place? Yep, she sure did. Well, now I know why you lost it. You set it down here under the stairs. That was pretty dumb. Oh, hey. Oh. Oh, cool. So one of the things I did was clean up in the script. You can the there were several. There used to, well, there still are several different ways that a script action can refer to the object upon which the action is being run, and I standardized on self at some point, quote unquote self, and so I put in some error logging for the cases where it misses, and so somewhere on somebody's calling get property on something. So test objects.groovy. Okay, so that actually may be, no, test objects.groovy. That's in here. What did it say? What line? 1136. Yep. How did I miss this? I searched through every one of these damn... Up here, too. Huh. Alright, so that I need to fix. Let's finish the quest. Okay, so I need to take it. Take it. Take it to the limit. Why? Oh, it's the test. Yeah. Because I'm holding the test one. Let's not do... Oh, no, I'm not. Why is then the test... What was it running? Oh, it's a quest X, right? So everything I do to take it was going to do that. Yeah. So I'll fix that one. Okay. So anyway, we've got it. So we're, the marker's off the map. And then we could run back to town. Although the game is doing its best to give up on me. It's getting to be nighttime, so let's just cheat. Let's return her axe to her. Cheat. Yep. So, where is she? There she is. Alright. Hey, Lauscher. I found your item. Yay! Alright, we completed the quest. Which means that all that stuff is working. And that's basically what I'm doing. And that'll be what I'm doing tomorrow and the next day. If you guys sign up for the Discord, if you aren't already on the Discord, we can discuss further what the next stuff will be for this month. But for now, and I may actually cut a new release on Sunday night, for now I'm just kind of fixing bugs and doing low-hanging fruit and fixing the bugs I find along the way. And it feels really good to just be able to, after having spent 5, 6, 7 weeks on choppable objects and related stuff, it feels good to just be working on one thing after another and knocking them out. So thanks for joining the live stream. I hope you all have a good and productive weekend. If you celebrate the 4th of July, I hope you had a good 4th of July yesterday. We will anyway, so thank you. Please like, comment, or subscribe. If you think of any other ideas for things I should work on immediately next, post them as comments or join the Discord and we can talk about them there. Otherwise, we'll thank the patrons one more time, and I will bid you all good evening. Thanks for watching.